But first, a story about a religion very much in the news today and very much misunderstood by most Americans, Islam. While attitudes towards homosexuality vary from country to country, culture to culture, many gay and lesbian Muslims are struggling to reconcile their sexuality and their religion. In some Islamic countries, coming out of the closet can mean a death sentence. In fact, we were unable to find any lesbians willing to be on camera for this story. Still, growing numbers of gay Muslims are finding ways to break down stereotypes and change the way Islam is interpreted. One such person is Faisal Alam, a Pakistani-American living in Washington, D.C., who grew up in an Islamic family. His story is emblematic of the struggle gay Muslims face at the often stormy intersection of religion and sexuality.
The first thing that people always tell me when they hear about being gay and Muslim, especially before Al-Fatiha started, was it's an oxymoron. The two can't ever go together in one way. And that's really sort of the struggle of gay Muslims all over the world, is that you have to pick one of these two identities. When I went off to school in Boston, Massachusetts, that's really when I began to put a name to what I was feeling inside. I was Brother Faisal Alam, during the daytime, secretary of the Islamic Society at Northeastern University, in Boston, and very much involved in the Muslim Student Association, and at night going out and clubbing and hanging out with my friends and, staying out till the wee hours in the morning. And those sorts of two lives really came crashing down in November of 1997 when I really just had a nervous breakdown and could not really function anymore. And it was when I was in the hospital for about 2.5 weeks when I said that I can't live these two dual lives anymore and that I need to figure out how to bring the two together. And that's when sort of the process of trying to find out who else was out there began. So I sent out a message to Muslim student associations to find out if anyone else was also struggling with the issues of being gay and Muslim. Within minutes, people had started subscribing to this internet listserv. And it was the first time that, to our knowledge, that people really had a safe forum to come together and talk about different issues.
Author Michelangelo Signorelli was one of the first writers to take note.
It's a testament to the power of the internet that perhaps one of the most underground subcultures imaginable, gay and lesbian Muslims, could come to the surface, and that people could organize and communicate globally.
Alam organized a 3-day-long retreat in Boston, Massachusetts for gay and lesbian Muslims to come together, meet, and talk about the issues facing them. The retreat became the genesis of the organization.
The retreat's theme was Al-Fatiha, which comes from the first chapter of the Holy Quran, which is the holy book of Muslims. And Al-Fatiha means the opening or the beginning. So it became an appropriate title for the organization.
We asked 4 members of Al-Fatiha into our studio to talk about growing up gay and Muslim.
If somebody just meets me, they ask me my name, then they just assume that you're heterosexual, that you're conservative, and I just play along with it. And I'm like, yeah, my dad had 7 wives. I'm going to marry the second one, And then in the end, I'm like, please, get a life. I'm a homosexual. I'm going to meet my boyfriend in a bar for a drink. Does that help you?
I believed in Islam. I believed in being right. I believed I cannot deny myself something that I felt was very natural. And when I felt that, when I had some friends who, when I came out to them, they're like, what about religion? I'm like, well, if God is saying if it's such a bad thing, then he would tell me why it's bad, and he would show me a way to stop it.
When I did finally come out and my parents, knew that I was gay, my relationship with my father was damaged beyond repair. Eventually, he and my mother moved back to the Middle East after he retired. A year later, I got a call from my mom asking if she could come live with me. I was in grad school at the time. Because my father had decided, since I was not going to, I'm an only son, and since I was not going to carry on the family name, that it was now his responsibility. At 70 years of age, decided that he was going to have an arranged marriage with another woman and produce more offspring.
I needed to come out. I absolutely needed it for myself, but in that cultural context, I don't think it's necessary. And I think, and I know others who are Moroccan from both sides of the family, and from devout families, they haven't had any problems. Their family knows.
I think it's a very complicated mix of culture and politics and religion.
Islam says that all people who believe in one God are good people of the book. And my mom was Christian, so I was like, oh, at least she's okay. But whenever I listen to Christians talking about people who weren't Christian, it's like they're all going to hell. So I was like, well, you know, these two religions, like at least this, you know, Islam is a little bit broader and more open-minded. I feel more comfortable being in that religion and thinking both my parents are going to be okay than listening to what my mother's religion says and thinking my father's going to hell and so am I.
There has been, as in Christianity, one or two passages that are constantly used by various groups and blown up and deemed the word. And of course you see in Islam, just as in Christianity, other things that are in the Quran that tend to be ignored or decided upon as things that are no longer important.
Islam's interpretation has really been influenced by the culture in each country that it spreads to. So, and that really has a lot to do with sort of the treatment of gay people as well in Muslim countries.
In a recent article, Signorelli reported on how Islamic law is used to intimidate and oppress.
It is according to the Taliban's reading of Islamic law that homosexuals are to be put to death with a wall falling on them. In one of the cases that I was looking at, 3 men survived and were in the hospital with most of the bones of their bodies broken and were free to go after that because, according to Taliban law, somehow they were exonerated if their lives were spared by God. The official Taliban radio will announce it on the air and really make a big thing out of it and let people know that these people were put to death because of their homosexuality. Often will say that these people confessed.
In Egypt, while the death penalty isn't on the books, gay Muslims have been publicly humiliated, arrested, even tortured.
On May 11th, I began receiving emails from an anonymous man in Egypt. And he told a story which was extremely disturbing about a police raid on a discotheque which was rumored to be a gathering place for gay men, of dozens of men who had been arrested, of men being held in prison incommunicado. At least 52 men had been held for months without charges being pressed, without the opportunity for bail, where they're being put to trial without the opportunity for appeal. The Egyptian government decided that it needed to turn around and, as it were, throw a bone to fundamentalist forces. And the bone they threw took the form of the lives of 52 gay men.
They counted me because they needed a body.
On November 14th, 23 of the Cairo 52 were convicted of contempt of religion and obscene behavior and sentenced to between 1 and 5 years hard labor.
These people are really being used as an example by the Egyptian government to again send a fear throughout the population. Islam is not universally a religion in which any country where people are predominantly Muslim will oppress homosexuals. It is about governments and what they do with religious law.
Al-Fatiha, now 300 members strong, representing more than 20 countries, from Egypt to Malaysia, reaches out to gay and lesbian Muslims around the globe by providing a safe forum to share ideas, experiences, and resources.
I think it's about compromising one aspect of your life versus the other, but creating new paths and creating new ways of practicing your Islam while still being gay. And Islam is a very community-oriented religion. Al-Fatiha has really helped me sort of create a new family and a new community. I mean, the first time that I had really prayed in a long time was at the first Al-Fatiha conference, where I just burst into tears because it was the first time that I had prayed, with other gay Muslims. And we started off with 5 people, and at the end of the conference, we had 20 people who had participated in prayer. And it was one of the most emotional experiences that a lot of us had gone through. Not one individual, not one ideology has a monopoly over God. And I think a lot of gay religious groups, if you will, both gay Catholics, gay Buddhists, gay Muslims, have really understood that concept, that religion has been hijacked, and that in fact the root of all religious tradition and all religious faith is the notions of peace, love, and justice.